angel, too messed up to get back home. Looking over West Virginia.
All right. I got a bit here, so sit tight.
Ah, we've been through that today.
Apparently I met Brendan when I was 12 hours old. But I think we've known each other much longer. In fact, I think we've been brothers time and time again. We know each other way too well. In this particular manifestation of our brotherhood, we ended up here, in the woods in Down East Maine. Thanks to my cousin Lucy, who's now filming, I was able to listen to Brendan's speech from my wedding last year. Like Brendan always does, he dazzled us. There is magic in his storytelling, something unteachable and something untouchable, something that draws you in and holds you deep in his fantasy world. Have you ever been to a wedding like this?
No.
These woods and these farms are Brendan's greatest story yet. Watching his and Candace's dreams come true and come alive has been such an immense pleasure to many of us. It's been hard work, but anything with value always is. Last year at my wedding, Brendan told stories from our childhood, from his perspective. He took a couple digs at my potbelly when I was younger, but that's okay. I forgive him. And now I have the mic. I was surprised that he kept his well-known tall tales to a minimum last year. Brendan tends to tack on a few extra of everything that he's talking about. This is generally countered by my dad's pessimism when it comes to exaggeration. The big pine tree in front of our house to Brendan was 150 feet, maybe 170. To my dad, it's 65. My dog, Sandy, could run 45 miles an hour. And my dad said maybe 20 if she was running downhill. Most waves to Brendan are 15 or 20 feet tall. And my dad says there are a couple few, which we still don't really know what a couple few is. It's a measurement my dad has always used, but it's been the mileage between here and Boston. It's also been the height of a Christmas tree. Or how many hours we're going to go out and work.
He always says it.
It's okay.
But Brendan's boundless excitement, imagination, and curiosity has sparked so many of my brother's great adventures. I've been lucky enough to watch them, and in many cases take part in them. Bobby Kennedy said, "Some men see things as they are and ask why. I dream of things that never were and ask why not." I think that's a pretty accurate description of the way Brendan's mind works. My first memory of his stories and immense imagination stretch back to when I was 5 or 6, which means Brendan was 9 or 10. Our house was a mile from the road and the nearest neighbor. Every afternoon we'd hop off the bottom step of the school bus and start along the winding road towards home. It was always fantasy with us, always magic. Never guns, always swords, as you saw earlier. Bows and arrows. A common narrative we picked up daily was one where all the mice from Jackson Lab escaped and started a colony out on the Porcupine Islands. For those who don't know, Jackson Lab is a research facility here on MDI. Let's see. Because the tests they performed over there, the Jackson Lab mice had become smart and could now sail, build machines, swords, and of course fight. Our cabin, our parents' cabin, our home, was under the shadow of Mount Cromer, one of the highest peaks in all of Gouldsboro, standing at a towering 230 feet on a especially low tide. Because of this large landmark, we figured an attack from the Jackson Lab mice was imminent, and that the local rodents were amassing a large army to counter the invasion and thus thwart the conquest of the Scudic Peninsula. The story took 2 or 3 years to tell. Because with Brendan, nothing is short. Nothing is done. Thinking about your spouse. Which I love. Nothing is short. Nothing is done unless it's going to be done right and uniquely to him. His attention to detail is something I want to stick on for a second. Within these stories, he never focuses on the headlines. He never focuses on the tweetable moments. He focuses on the intimate moments, sharing food or drink, or building relationships between characters. As much as Brendan finds enjoyment in big dreaming, he also makes the normal comings and goings of his life interesting and meaningful. It's always been something I've admired in you, turning the ordinary into extraordinary. His attention to detail applies to every part of his life. Sometimes it can get in the way. For example, he never actually finished a Mother's Day card for Mom. He always started them a few weeks out, but obsessed so thoroughly with making them perfect that he never was able to give her one. But most of the time, his attention to detail pushes his work to a level that is unmatched. I know it will translate to him as a husband and as a father. We didn't just play with Legos. We dragged them atop of a mountain and created backstories so detailed. So detailed that Brendan decided to draw each of the 300 Lego people we had in colored pencil and give them names on 11 by 8 paper. He gave them history and hit points, which we dabbled in some RPG games in our childhood, like Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, if you know what hit points are. He always wanted to make his own story, to forge a fresh path. Watching him do that time and time again has directly shaped my life. It encouraged me to set out on my own slightly more alternative road, and I can't thank you enough for being there and encouraging me endlessly. Your optimism is infectious. Brendan's desire to be the best or win has a unique parallel with his creativity. He always is up for a challenge and usually perseveres. He won his first race when he was 10 years old. I actually don't know if that was exact age. 8. Wow, yeah. When he was 8 years old, it was down in Goldsboro, starting up at Fisher Field, wherever Matt Fisher is back there. There we go. It's told that the gun or horn went off and we all set out running. Mom and Dad were at the end of the race. I think. Yep. We're at the end of the race. Chatting and waiting for the runners to come in. Then here comes Brendan, ahead of everybody by 200 meters. Wow. Mom thinks, oh, shit. He cheated or maybe got lost. Which the getting lost part comes back into the story in a little bit. He finished and Mom pulled him aside to figure out why he was so far ahead. Honey, did you go all the way to the lady at the turnaround station? You were supposed to go there, turn around, and come back. Brendan says, yeah, Mom. She was super nice. And we talked for a bit. Then I had a cup of water, had a slice of watermelon, and headed back.
Still won.
Brendan went on to win 11 state championships, run at Brown University, tour the world as a professional runner, compete in the Olympic trials, and run in a sub 4-minute mile.
Yo! While eating watermelon.
Every race.
Super nice.
Now getting back to the lost part of the story, I tell you, It was good that he was so much faster than the rest. It was known that Brendan could run as much as a half mile longer than the actual cross-country course and still win the race. And that pissed some people off, I'll tell you what. Luckily, most of his closest competitors respected him so much that they would call him back when they saw him tearing down some random logging road. Brendan, the arrow points left, not right. Then B would turn around, retrace his steps, pass the guy with a quick thanks, then go tearing off the wrong direction again. In fact, one time I remember this particular race at GSA. They had a big track at the end. And Brendan comes in through the side, and you're supposed to go around the track, and there's like people and stands and banners and a finish line. And then you go, like everybody, it looks like you should go right, and Brendan just takes off going left in the complete opposite direction and runs like underneath the finish line in the wrong way.
What?
Mom used to line up barricades of people to stop him from running down the road. Mom was our coach in high school. And that's true. We would stand there like Red Rover, with our hands as barricades, and I think Brendan still thought we were playing Red Rover. And we would run straight through and down some random trail. All right, that's enough of that. It was really, he was just in his own head. When Brendan was competing, I assumed that he was maybe thinking he was carrying some message from some village to the next with an army in his back. He kind of taught me to dream that way, though. It's one of the things, not in here, but one of the things that I also wanted to say, but my speech got long, but now I guess I'm kind of enjoying it up here. Is that before we really talked about, competition or business or anything like that, I remember one thing he kind of told me, and we hadn't learned this, and he was like, I just imagine myself being successful over and over, and I run the state championship race through my head over and over and over, and I start at the first meet and how I'm going to do, and I work my way up. And I just remember taking that so seriously, and I still do that today because of you. And I think about my career and think about my running career. And I remember every time I'd set out on these runs in the middle of the snow or something like that, and just be envisioning success. And I've been told since then that that's what a lot of people do, but I think we came up with it, and we learned with it. We came up with it for ourselves, and we learned it pretty young. And I actually attribute a lot of what we did just to always assuming that we were going to win these races. But I didn't just want to do what you did or be like you. I wanted to be you. We're cut from the same cloth. Sometimes it's hard to find where I begin and you end. But God, it's a good feeling. It's really unique to have a relationship like that, and especially a brother. We're the O'Keefes. We're brothers. We're dreamers. We're artists, swordsmen, builders, lovers, wizards. We're sons, and now both of us are husbands. You struggle with parts of this world, and so do I. But like you said last year, when one of us falters at the helm, the other is always there to steer the ship. Both of our wives married a couple of oddballs. And both know that their lives with us will be something unique and at times difficult. But I also know they see that our marriages will be filled with adventures, blight, mystery, magic, and immensely powerful love. Both these girls are tough. I've known Candy Daly for about 20 years, maybe a little less. She was 1 year behind me at Sumner, our high school. Candace was a light in our high school. To me, she was the bridge between the groups that can form during those formidable years. She made everybody feel welcome, and I was always drawn to her energy, like so many others. Candy had a crush on Brendan for as long as I can remember. She used to playfully tease me. Baba, when are you going to introduce me to your brother? Baba, he's so cute. And that pissed me off because I was in high school trying to be a young guy. I only weighed about 94 pounds. But we became good friends when she joined the track team. Though I did get kicked off the track team for a spell because I got drunk with Candy for the first time. And some other folks that are here up at Ryan Bridges camp. 3 years ago, Candy showed up at Finn's in Ellsworth. I was playing a show after Christmas, and naturally, my brother was there. I could see it in her eye that this time she wasn't teasing me. She was serious about Brendan. I have this song called Baby Brother, and Brendan requested it, probably because it's mostly about him. But when I started playing it, Brendan and Candace were nowhere to be found. A few months later, they were in love, and it was obvious. Brendan was giddy. He was reshaping some of the dreams with your help. It was wonderful to see. And I'll tell you one thing, again, I knew you were a fierce competitor and a wonderful friend. Hold on. It's right here. And a wonderful friend, but man, you're a tough woman. You and Brennan live a lifestyle that few could handle day in and day out. I respect you so much for this. Not only do you help Brendan fulfill his dreams, you also have your own dreams. I'm so happy to have a sister in you. And I look forward to all the adventures the four of us will have. You bring joy, comfort, and push my brother to be a more rounded person. You're his warm stove in the winter storm. You're his torch in the dark woods, the call of an owl, and the magic Brendan needs. Brendan, you're Candy's farm in the woods. You're a warm hug when the coyotes howl. You're her cabin on the hill. Brendan, I love you, brother. Candace, I love you, sister. Welcome to the family.
Group hug.
Yay! Go, Lila!
You scared? Speak right up. Well, here, you can speak like you normally do, just get a little closer to this thing.
Okay.
Oh, honey.
It's okay, I'm right here with you. Here, I'll hold it for you. You got it. I know, it's okay. You got it. Can I start it together?
Daddy and Candace. Daddy and Candace have known me for 8 and 3 years. Daddy has known me for 8 and years, and Candace has known me for 8 and 3 years. They have loved and cared for me. I am glad they are finally getting married. Daddy and Candace are like two puzzle pieces snapping together. And it makes me happy to see them getting married. It fills me with joy. Happy wedding. Love, Lila.
dictated it to me one night. She goes, I want to do a toast. Did she come up with the puzzle piece? What? She said the puzzle piece? No. She did the whole thing by herself.
What's the part?
You did so good.
The puzzle piece is
It's open now. Yo, it's wide open, so anybody can come up, and Ryan will hold the paper for you if you want. Anybody.
Wait, don't talk. Go.
Lift it up. There you go.
Okay now?
Yeah.
There you go. I'm Adam Keefe. I'm Lennon's dad. Welcome to the Howling Woods, where craziness and magic are in equal measure. On both sides. Ryan, thank you. You were spot on with most of that stuff, so I'm not going to talk about Brendan. You guys know all about it. I'm going to talk about Candace. I've gotten to know Candace pretty well, working together, side by side on all these projects here. But my eyes really opened one day when Brendan, Candace, Lila, and Becky, we were at the fair. So she knows what story this is coming up here. So it was a hot day in July. We were at a country fair with all the animals, of course, and we'd been to every one of them. You know, and spent a lot of time sitting, caressing, and so we were walking down the fairway, a few rides, a little food, grabbed a little food, we're walking down the fairway to the grandstand. And Candace looks up and says, "What is this? He-Man, She-Man contest?" and I'm thinking, all I'm going to do is go sit in the shade in the grandstand and eat some food here and get Lila home on time, which is a big thing. But Candace goes, "I want to do this." So Candace is standing there looking at the other contestants, which the smallest one probably outweighed her by 30 pounds, the biggest one probably by 60. And they weren't chubby women. They were rugged women. Woods working, farm working women. So the contest consisted of a series of physical events, and they're all dressed in their Carhartts and their T-shirts and their steel-toed boots. And it was a hot day, Candace, but I don't know, can't remember quite what you were wearing, but it didn't amount to much. So Candace signs in, walks up to the line of these women, kicks off her sandals, barefoot stands there, and not very much. And the biggest one's looking down at this little girl here. And Candace turns, and they'll all know her, the people that know her little smile. Turns her back and gives a little smile to them. Received a couple of scowls in advance. They set off on the first event, okay, is you got to stack a quarter cord of wood on this rack. A quarter cord, for you that don't know, is a fair amount of wood.
Couple few. That's a good one, Brendan.
So you have to stand on this rack, and it's kind of hard to do. You have to get it on there just right. It's a timed event, and time is what makes up this whole event. And there's these fairly sticks of firewood, fairly good size, and she does fairly well. And when she first gets up there and to go to this event, there's kind of a lot of snickering in the stands. There's probably 80 people in the stands. I was up there in the stands, sitting in the shade, and eating my food. There's probably like 80 people in the stand. I hear a little snicker. Oh, what's this little girl going to do with these tough-looking women here, you know? And so she does pretty well in the first event, and I saw a couple of people look up. You know, and then the next event goes through, there's a hoop in the air, like a hula hoop, and you have to throw a 4-foot stick of firewood this big around through that. And a lot of the women were having trouble with that. Wow. Candace whips that stick through that hoop and halfway down the fairway. And then I hear in the stand, oh. So the third event, you come to it's a 55-gallon drum, which again is a barrel about this high, probably more than chest high on you, and 3 rocks you have to pick up and put on the top of this barrel. Now, they weren't little stones. They were big old rocks. The first 2 I knew she could handle. The third one I thought, well, this is going to be tough. And I knew it pretty well by then. And I hear the first 2 go whipping up there, and all of a sudden everybody's perked up in the stand. She picks up this third rock, a bigger round is next, and she picks up and she slams it on the top of that barrel there, and I hear the collective, whoa! From From that event on, the stands were Team Candace. there was about 6 other events, and I won't be long-winded, David. I'll tell you about all the events. But in she came, and Candace took second place, and missed first not by much. And she impressed me that day to no end, and I hope she impressed every little girl in that stand. Thinking you can be a beautiful, confident woman and still be tough as nails. So, welcome to the family officially, and we're glad to have you on board.
All right. Good show.
Love you.
What did you say?
Yesterday.
Who are you? Who are you?
Yes, obviously, to figure it out, she knows.
Ever since Ryan's wedding last year, I was like, oh, those are good speeches. Better come prepared. So I've been drafting this on my notes on my phone for weeks.
Who are you?
I'm Brendan's cousin Lucy from the Biggers family. Becky is my aunt through my father, Kelsey. They're siblings. And my name's Lucy. I said that right? I'm so nervous. As many of you may or may not know, we have a family detective movie called Dastardly Scheme. It spans 20 years, and we started filming when Brendan was a junior or senior in high school, and we've continuously filmed every few summers up until this very day. Brendan plays the role of William McGurk, the perpetually optimistic detective who's always thinks he can thwart the plan of her evilness, played by me. McGurk is known for never giving up hope. When everyone else thinks the famous scientist Susie Q is lost, McGurk finds a message in a bottle and consults with renowned psychic Madame Maxime in order to find a clue for her whereabouts. He also entrusts his trusty sidekick, Dill Pickle, Ryan O'Keefe, and his oldest friend and master of disguise, Bill Ding, Tom Curran, my uncle. They join forces to get to the bottom of the mystery. In the end, McGurk prevails. He saves Susie Q from Dr. Golf, my dad, and he saves the island and the all of mankind from the plague. McGurk's disposition for seeing the best in other people and the best in every situation never wavers. Even when his new sidekick, Tomorrow, is revealed as a traitor, McGurk never strays from the light, from the side of the do-gooders. He's steadfast in his vision for a better, more perfect world. And when he finally faces her evilness in an epic battle on the beach, Dastardly Scheme 3, filmed in 2004 on Martha's Vineyard, one by one, the do-gooders are outmatched and they fall. And it looks like just for a moment, her evilness will prevail, and the plague will be released, and all of mankind will succumb. But William McGurk comes back from the brink and he shouts, "Not while William McGurk still breathes the salty air!" And he runs, and at last, her evilness is vanquished again, to the bottom of the ocean, where her evil plans can't touch the do-gooders and their golden world. Brendan, like McGurk, has always had a vision for the world, one filled with mystery, magic, and optimism. This is reflected in the writing of his book, which I'm still waiting to read an excerpt of, and in the building of these woods and all the magic and mystery that they provide. And honestly, sometimes the evil ones, we don't see his vision of the world or believe in the world that he wants to build. Well, luckily for us and for Brendan, he met Candyland, also known as Candace. A beautiful bride with a twinkle in her eye who is kind and compassionate and shares his vision for this magical world. Even the creators of Dastardly Scheme could not have written a more perfect partner for McGurk.
I form a compliment.
As the creator, I'm saying that. Now, when he's outmatched and outsmarted by the evil ones, he will always have an ally, someone to hold on to his vision of a more magical world. So, in the words of McGurk, to Pickle, after they vanquished her evilness, it's time to partay. Cheers to the bride and groom. We're so happy for you guys.
That's what I'm doing is just saying, what a great night, you know, Ryan, Lucy, Art. Phew, those are good ones. I just want to say that I represent Kelsey Biggers.
He's been saying that to everybody else. Who are you? Just kidding.
Becky is my sister, and my brother Brad Biggers, and my brother Tom Kern, and Missy Photo are here. So there are 5 of us of our generation, and I speak collectively for all of us because this is going to be the last comments, if I have anything to say. But is that like we 5 are so proud of Brendan and Ryan, and the boys that you've become, and we're so proud of the women that you've decided to build your lives with, that we just can't be happier. What a wonderful event. So a particular thanks go out to my sister Becky, because that girl, she can help and do an assist on a wedding. So, can't be happier. So I'm going to hand it back to you, my man.